riqueza y atracción. Dejamos con ustedes a Bob Proctor. Que disfruten.
Hello there and welcome. This is Bob Proctor, and I am really pleased to be working with you, Oma. You know, I've spent a lot of time talking to Chris, and he's been teaching me something about the company, and I think you're going to love what I've got. You see, my mindset has given me a life that most people just dream of living. And you know what I have found? Mindset will do exactly the same for you. The secret is in the mindset. This is where it's at. You see, strategy, 5%. 5% of success. That's where most people spend all their time. 95% mindset. So think on that for a few minutes. Just think on that. 95% mindset. Do you know, if you will really listen to me very carefully as I go through this presentation, you're going to pick up information that will literally change the course of your life. Absolutely no question about it. Now look here for a moment. What we're talking about is one life. We get one bite at the apple so far as we know. It's about lifestyle. That's really what it's about. It's about contribution. The contribution you make determines what you're going to receive. It's about how we spend our days. These things are very, very important. It all depends on how we see ourselves, our own self-image. So, listen carefully. Understand this. You can create the life you really want. That is such a big idea. You can create the life you really want. I'm looking forward to breaking all these ideas down for you. I began studying them in 1961. I know some of you are surprised I'm still living since I was studying back that far. I was 26 when I picked up this book. Everything in my life changed. It changed so dramatically I still have difficulty adapting to it from time to time. So look here carefully. I want to suggest that you must really begin to think. Do you know most people don't think? Now, if you question that or if you doubt that, I want to tell you how to do it. Listen to what most people are saying. They're not thinking, or they'd never say what they're saying. Watch what they're doing. People would never do what they're doing if they were thinking. This is so important. There's two things you must know if you want to create wealth in Tioma. Just two things. One, you've got to know where you are. The other one, you've got to know where you're going. And then you've got to get moving. This is so simple and it's so obvious, you have to ask yourself, why are so many people stuck? Why are so many people stuck? Now listen, I understand you're relatively new in the North American market. This is a phenomenal market. There's no end to what you can do. And I'm going to tell you something. In the world I come from, there is no competition. Amateurs compete with people. Professionals compete with themselves. Why are so many people stuck? Well, I'll tell you why. Most people believe the deal is right here, setting goals. Now, I know that's important, but it's not the most important. The most important is gain an understanding where you're at right here. See, most people don't know where they're at. Their problem is they're stuck because their paradigm is in control of them. They don't understand this, but their paradigm is literally in control of them. Most people are extras in their own movie. And what do we mean by that? Well, let's stop and really think. I think it was Shakespeare said, all of life's a stage, and we're the actors in it. Well, the average individual is always looking at somebody else that's a star. They're looking at what Harry does or what Betty does. Multi-million-dollar producers, they're looking at them, and they think, and I'm down here. You've got to understand, you're the star in your own movie. What do you really want? You got to become the director. You see, when you're doing this, you don't even know who the director is. It's somebody outside. But when you take control, you become the director, then you dictate what you want. You got to sit down and decide exactly what it is you want. Now look at everyone has a story. There's no question about it. Everyone has a story. I'm going to share mine with you. I want to tell you my story. It was many years ago, I learned that targets are good for the soul, yours and mine. Your goal is the most important thing. It's what's going to motor you. It's what's going to cause you to move forward. It's what's going to cause you to look to a higher level. And you're quite capable of getting it. In 1961, a man by the name of Ray Stanford sat down with me, and he put an R on a sheet of paper. Then he put 3 letters down beside it, 2 H's and a W. He said, Bob, let this represent happiness, health, and wealth. Then he asked me if I thought he was a happy guy. And I'm going to tell you, he seemed pretty happy to me. And he said, have you ever seen me sick? And I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I'm broke? I never had. Guy always had money on him. Now, I was unhappy, I was sick, and I was broke. I had nothing, I was going nowhere. I was actually earning $4,000 a year at the time, and I owed $6,000. That's a sick place to be. But that's where I was. Now, I didn't know the $6,000 all in one place. I owed it all over the place. 50 here, 100 here. So people were always coming after me for money. And Ray started to ask me some questions. He said, how do you like living as you're living? Well, I didn't. He said, you know why? You're not living at all, Bob. You're existing. Now, he said, what do you study? I said, what do you mean? He said, what are you reading? I said, well, I can't read. Now, that wasn't true. I could. Not well, but I could. And he said, do you know the secret of the ages are locked up in books? You can learn how to do anything from a book. Some of the greatest books in the world are available to you. All you have to do is pick them up and read them. Now he said, Bob, I want to introduce you to something. And he said, this book can literally change your life. If you will do exactly what I tell you and read this book, I can teach you how to have anything you want. Now I'm going to tell you, I didn't believe that. But I believed he believed it. And I don't know why, but I decided I was going to start doing what he said. I says, the first thing you got to do, Bob, you got to set a goal. You got to sit down, write out what you want, write it on a card. You got to carry the card in your pocket, read it as often as possible every day. He said, what do you really want? I wanted $25,000. Now, I don't know why I picked $25,000, because that would be like you and I today saying I want $25 million. I mean, I didn't even believe I could get it. But he asked me a question, so I gave him an answer. He said, write it on the card. Write the date down when you're going to get it. Well, I wrote the date. I'd get it, New Year's Day of 1970. I wrote that on the card in 1961. See, I didn't believe it was going to happen at all. I did not believe it. But he said, I want you to read this card every day. Just do exactly what I'm telling you. Read it every day. I don't care if you believe it. Read it every day. You know what I learned? If you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. He said, read it every day. And I'm reading this card every day. You know what I started to do? I started to think of earning money. Now, prior to that, I was thinking of debt. People were always phoning me, where's the money? And so this got me thinking of earning money. Somebody said there's good money cleaning floors. I said, I'm not proud, I'll clean floors. I started to clean one office. I got $15 a time to wash the floor. I'll wash the floor twice a month. Then I got another office. I got $65 a month. Now I'm up to $95 a month. Keep in mind, I was earning $100 a week, $400 a month. Now I'm earning an extra $100 a month. That was a big change. Do you know, by the end of that year, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, I hadn't earned $175,000, but I was at $12,500 a month every month. Yet in less than 5 years, I was earning over $1 million a year. And I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. My whole world had changed. It had changed like night and day. And let me tell you something. If you asked me what I did to change my life so dramatically, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. Now, I started to think about this, and I was being very irresponsible. I was living in England, and I was just throwing the money all over the place. I was not a responsible person with money. You see, having money was a new idea. I would go down to the Playboy Club on Park Lane in London, England, right beside the London Hilton, and I would play roulette. I didn't care if I lost because I knew where to get more money. And the truth was I usually won because I didn't care if I lost. One thing led to another, and one day, I think I come out of there, and I stopped and I thought, what am I doing? This is not being responsible. Then I said, how did my life change so dramatically? See, I had been raised to believe that if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't really smart, but I was earning a lot of money. I had only gone to high school for 2 months. No formal business education, no formal education. Yet here I was operating a business that was operating in 7 cities in 3 different countries, earning a lot of money. See, I was raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't win. That is not true. Some of the most successful people in the world have never seen the inside of an educational institution. Never. So then I started to question everything that I had been taught. Yes, anything that I'd been taught, true. Then I wanted to know, how did my life change? Do you know it took me 9.5 years? I became obsessed with the idea, why did my life change? And I started to work with some really absolutely brilliant people. Then I started to realize it was listening to this record. I listened to this record every day. I would play it over and over and over. I had a little battery-operated record player. In fact, I've got one here on the shelf. I should get it and show it to you. Because when I started to listen to these records, it was the repetition of listening to them over and over and over. Hold on just a minute. I will show you. Now, this is a little crazy, but there's a great lesson here. I want you to look at this. This is a battery-operated record player.
Hello, this is Earl Nightingale, and this recording, The Magic Word, is the first of 12 you'll receive in this series titled How You Can Lead the Field in the Modern World. Before we start, I'd like you to know that I'm not going to try to tell you how to live your life. That's none of my business, nor is it anybody else's business. That's your business. Nor is this Lead the Field program a collection of pleasantries, platitudes, or Pollyanna. It is a summation of more than 20 years of research on one subject, and that is, why do some people do so well in life, while so many more do not? And the first thing let's talk about is the magic word. The experts call it the most important word as far as the results we get from life are concerned in this or any other language. And that word is attitude. It is...
I realized that it was the repetition of me listening to the same thing over and over and over again that I changed my conditioning. I will get in more into the conditioning as I move along here. These two men, Lloyd Conant and Earl Nightingale, started the Nightingale-Conant Corporation. They actually started the motivation, the education industry in recorded fashion that we know today. They're both gone today, God bless them. But I went to visit them in 1966. And I was just absolutely fascinated with what they were doing. and I went and I got an appointment with Earl Nightingale. I was sitting in his office, and I said, Earl, what is the real secret to this? He said, Bob, there isn't any secret. He said, everybody's got infinite power within them. We've got to get past these paradigms, and we've got to build a new idea in our mind. And he said, the repetition of these ideas. And he said, the problem with most people, they never sit and think of what they really want. They didn't dedicate their life to it. I was sitting there, and I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to listen to him. You see, I'd been listening to these little 7-inch records for a number of years, 6, 7 years, and I'd listen to them. Every day I would listen to them. I listened to that Strangest Secret record over and over and over. This record here, I listened to that thing thousands of times. They're the ones that put it out. I made up my mind I was going to go back and work with them. In 1968, I was their vice president of sales. I was absolutely fascinated with their information. My life began to change dramatically. And I started to study this from a totally different perspective. I made up my mind I was going to teach anyone that would listen to me how to earn millions of dollars. And I'm going to tell you, you're in the right industry to do it. If network marketing didn't exist, we would have to invent it. It is without question one of the greatest ideas that ever come down the road. And I'll tell you why. I have studied this for many years. You can go right back to the ancient Babylonians in biblical times, and you're going to find out all of the wealthy people, without exception, had multiple sources of income. So let me tell you what I've learned. It's the repetition of the right idea. Repetition, the action of repeating something that has already been said or written. And you repeat it over and over and over again, and it'll change your life. Everyone wants freedom. You'll never meet anybody that doesn't. You have the ability in this company to give them freedom. That's what your company's all about. Time and money freedom. Now, I don't know what you thought it was about, but your company is about time and money freedom. You'll be amazed how much free time you have when you never have to think about money. Now think. You, keep in mind, we're talking to you. You can create your own economy. You do not have to go by what the newspapers or what the television sets are telling you. In the worst economy in the world, there were people earning millions. You can create your own economy. Quit listening to the news. Quit reading all about it. Study really good books. Repetition will change your mind. It's all about the mind. I want to teach you something about the mind, your marvelous mind, that'll change your world. Now listen. Understanding your mind and working in harmony with the laws that govern the mind is essential. There's laws governing your mind. Now listen. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. It requires no modification or improvement. You have perfection within you. There is perfection within you. You are God's highest form of creation. There's all and always there ever was or ever will be is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. You are all-knowing. All the power there ever was or ever will be, it's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. You've got it all locked up within you. And you know something? It doesn't matter where you go, it's there. It's a beautiful thing to know. That's the real you. Now, are you truly what or who you pretend to be? Now, before I get into really showing you how the mindset and how all this works, I want you to think of you. Really think of who you are and what you are. I'm going to tell you, I walked around with the wrong idea about myself for a long, long time. I would say, well, it's just me. And I could never do anything worthwhile. Do you know, in 1973, I sat down and I took a pen and I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. Today, the Proctor Gallagher Institute operates all over the world. Every country in the world. This is not a joke. This is something serious that I'm sharing with you. Now look at it. You're a spiritual being. You live in a physical body. Now, I want to encourage you to really pay attention to me. When I put spiritual down there, that might cause some of you to go to a religious bent. There's only two sources of reference to find out about anything about yourself. One's science and the other's theology. And I don't care if you go to the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, or the Torah, the Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Book of Mormon. Doesn't matter what you go to. Go to a great scientific book. You're going to find you are a spiritual being and you live in a physical body. You have been gifted with an intellect. That's something hardly anybody really understands. You're going to find, before I'm finished, that this intellect of yours changes everything in your life. It's a game changer. It truly is. You see, all the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. You and I are totally different. We're totally disoriented in our environment. All the other little creatures are completely at home in their environment. They operate by instinct, which is perfect. We had instinct removed, and we had our intellect put in its place. We have the ability to create our own environment. We're the only creature on the planet that can. You see, it's our intellect that controls our emotions. Our emotions control our actions, and our actions produce our results. So really pay attention. I'm going to show you what your intellectual factors are and then how to use them. And if you pay attention, you'll be fascinated. I know I was. It's changed my life. It's helped me earn millions of dollars. It's helped me work with people, interesting people all over the world. Now look, there's no trick to this. This is pretty simple. You are a spiritual being. Spirit is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. That's a big idea. Spirit's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Now, spirit operates by a law. One of these laws is the law of vibration. Each level of vibration is referred to as a frequency. So you see these lines, they represent levels of vibration or frequencies. Okay? And as a spiritual being, that's the highest frequency there is. And the physical, of course, is the lowest. But smack right in the middle, remember I said the intellect is the intellectual factors. Now, do you know that that gives you the ability to tap in on the highest level to change the lowest level? You see, every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. There's no line of demarcation where one stops and the other starts. Now, that is a very important fact that you want to learn something about. Everything is connected. Everything. High above, low below. Now, you have the ability with your intellect to tap into spirit. Where's spirit? We said it's 100% evenly present. All places at the same time. You know what else is omnipresent? Is thought. Thought is energy. Thought energy is omnipresent. 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Now look here. There you are. We'll say this is a glass of water. We're going to take the water and we'll heat it. The water is energy. It's energy. As we add heat to the water, we change it and it turns into steam. You see, the energy can be neither created nor destroyed, but it can be changed. So we take it from water, we add heat, and we turn it into steam. Now, if we continue to add heat to that steam, it turns into air, ether, gas. But you know something? On every level, it's all hooked together. It's all hooked together. The air, the ether, the steam, the water, it's all hooked together. And it's important that we understand that. Now, that's in everything in life. Now, let's apply it to our own thinking. Here we are here, spiritual beings. We've been gifted with an intellect. Then we live in a physical body. Now, by activating our higher faculties, things start to change. You see, when you begin to think, you tap in on a spiritual level. You take your faculties of your mind and you tap in on this higher level and you start pulling thoughts together and you create an idea. Now think of this for a moment. Andrew Carnegie was the wealthiest man in the world in 1908. He's the one that got Napoleon Hill to do this great work. Now listen. He said, any idea that is held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. You hold the idea, whatever idea, that idea's got to move into form. What idea are you operating with? Where do you want to go in the company? How many people do you want to recruit into this business? Where do you want those people to go? That's all in your own mind. That's where it starts. It starts right there. Now look at it. Let this circle represent the mind. Nobody has ever seen the mind. No. Now we're going to dress it up a bit and add a body to it. There's the educated mind, the emotional mind, and the body. So you see, what we've done is take that big circle and split it in two. The top half is the educated mind. Bottom half is the emotional mind. The body moves into action and produces results. Now we're going to come back to this, so pay attention. I want you to look at the mind and look at paradigms. In 1934, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Thurman Fleet was very involved in the healing arts, and he was very involved in holistic health. He said the mind is an activity, it's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, I will create an image that we can work with. And he's the one that come up with the circle. You see, up until then, no one had anything to work with when it comes to the mind. So he gave us this. Nobody's ever seen the mind. The mind is not a thing. A lot of people think of the brain as the mind. The brain isn't the mind any more than your fingernail is. The brain is part of the body. Mind is activity. Body is the manifestation of that activity. So look here. What he said, we'll split the top in two, and we'll say there's the conscious and the subconscious mind, and the bottom is the body. Now, I have stated on many occasions, after studying for 60 years, I've got just an absolutely magnificent library of material. I am more impressed with this idea than anything I've learned. You see, I had been studying for a long time. I'd been studying all kinds of books. I think one of the best books on the subconscious mind is Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, Power of the Subconscious Mind. And I read that I don't know how many times, but it was like I had all this information all over the place, but I couldn't get it to fit. It was like I had all the pieces for a puzzle. When I came across this, a man named Leland Belvandewaal, he shared this with me. Everything seemed to fall into place. So look here for a moment. I want you to really pay attention. The conscious mind and the subconscious and the body. The conscious mind has a thinking mind. It has the ability to think. This is what we call the educated mind. This is the part of your mind where your intellect is resident. We're going to be talking about the intellect a little later on. But this is where your intellect is resident. You've got higher faculties there in your conscious mind. You not only want to learn them, you want to learn how to use them. Now, the subconscious mind is totally different than the conscious mind. The subconscious is your emotional mind, and it functions totally different than the conscious mind. See, the conscious mind, it has the ability to choose. It has the ability to accept or reject. It has the ability to originate. The subconscious doesn't have that ability. Do you know your subconscious mind is immoral? It doesn't care what you plant, but it must accept it. It's like the earth. It has no ability to reject. It cannot reject, it must accept. Now this is the important part. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. It does not know the difference. It'll take whatever you plant and it'll start to grow. Now I'm going to do something I hadn't done in a presentation like this quite before. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to put my little pad up here and I'm going to draw the picture for you. Now here's the mind that we just talked about. Okay? Here's the conscious mind, the subconscious, and there's the body. Now, there's a power flowing into your conscious mind. You have the ability to pick any idea you want. You can choose any idea you want. It doesn't matter. You've got an imagination, and your imagination is one of your higher faculties. This is your emotional mind. Remember we said that? You let yourself get emotionally involved with an idea. Do you know what happens when you do? Now this sounds preposterous to some people, but if you've studied this as long as I have, you'll know it works. This is planting your idea in universal intelligence. That idea gets the entire universe rushing to its aid. Now, we operate on frequencies when it comes to our telephones. We operate on frequencies when it comes to our mind. We just don't understand that. Now think for a moment. You operate on frequencies when it comes to your telephone. If I have your number, it doesn't matter where you live. I hit send. I've got you on the phone. I can even have your picture here. We can have FaceTime and talk to one another. And we're right together. We're not apart at all. We're right here together. This is like magic. It's on the same frequency. This has to do with that law that I was telling you about, law of vibration. When you plant an idea in your subconscious mind, that idea is drawing from the entire universe. I don't care how far away, if something is on the frequency that resonates with this idea, you're going to get it. And that's the way it works. And we'll just get rid of that for a few minutes. Let's come back here. Okay, now come back. Blow this up. Now look here for a moment. You've learned that? I just touched that? Okay, let's see how much of it you remembered. Come on. Here you are today. You've got a conscious mind, and you're being inundated with information. And you have the ability to think. You can think. But you're listening to the news, and that idea is coming at you. You have the ability to say, get out of here. This is a bunch of negative nonsense. I'm not listening to that. And say, get out of here. But we don't do that. Do you want to know what we do? We not only listen to it, we've stopped thinking altogether, and we leave our mind wide open. And it goes right into our subconscious mind. What did I just show you what happens when it goes into your subconscious mind? You pull in the whole universe for those kind of things to happen. And so what people hear in the news is actually happening in their life. Why? Because they've bought into it. Now listen, why would we do that? That is because you're programmed to do it. You have been programmed since the moment of conception. From the very moment when mom and dad brought those two particles of energy together, and that became you. That's the nucleus of you. And you started to attract to you. You have all mom's DNA and all dad's DNA. Where did they get their DNA from? Their mother and their father. Where did they get it from? Their parents. And it goes back God knows how many generations. Do you know there's all kinds of stuff built into your paradigm that's absolutely ridiculous? The people that wrote the code for the program that's in your subconscious mind had no idea what the hell they were doing. Nice people, good people, but they didn't know what they were doing. How did this happen? Well, let's take a look. We'll close that window. Let's move over here. This is when you were an infant. This is today. Over here, this is when you were an infinite. And how did you arrive on the scene? You arrived on the scene with the subconscious mind wide open. What did we just say? Subconscious mind had absolutely no ability to reject any information. It'll accept everything that comes along. And you know something? All the people around you, they started programming your subconscious mind. And through repetition of them putting in what they believed, you ended up, you believe in the same thing. Times are tough. It's really tough. You've got to work hard out there to make them go of things. This is not an easy life. You've got to work hard. Never be able to buy a house. Is that true? For some people it is. Is it true for you? No. Could you buy a house? You could buy a street of houses if you wanted. You're involved in a business with this company. Every time you bring someone in the business, that represents a source of income. If you will take this business serious, I mean really get serious about it, don't listen to anybody else, listen exactly what I'm telling you, you'll realize that you can do anything. You see, this paradigm was built when you were just a little kid. And it's a sad thing. Your subconscious mind was loaded with a lot of bad information. You see, we already have the knowledge and the power to accomplish most anything we want. This company, when you join, gave you the information you need to win and win in a big way. Having the knowledge is not the problem. Here's the problem. We have developed a clear understanding. We have not developed a clear understanding of our paradigms, how they're formed, or how they control our habitual behavior. Now look at the top. We've already had the knowledge and the power to accomplish most anything we want. But we're not doing it. We are not doing it. Therefore, we frequently don't do what we already know how to do. Listen. I went into the Prudential Insurance Company of America in 1973. I got the people to do just two things. Be like this, 9 o'clock in the morning, be right in front of somebody, skin to skin, personal contact security, right in front of them. Ask everyone you meet to purchase $100,000 worth of insurance. You don't even have to sell them, just ask them to buy. Be in front of somebody every morning at 9 a.m. Sales in that company, the largest insurance company in the world, went up by hundreds of millions of dollars. Get in front of somebody every morning at 9 a.m. Ask them to join you in business. Tell them about all the good stuff in your business. You see, people have superior knowledge, inferior results. Therefore, that causes confusion and frustration. Let's put the model up here and look again. See, they've got all kinds of knowledge here in their conscious mind. They go to school, they got degrees, but you know something? The results would indicate that these people don't know very much. Person can be around this company for 6 months and get bad results. They know exactly how to build a business, a very successful business. But you see, it isn't all the knowledge they got that's controlling their results. It's their paradigm. The paradigm controls the results. Now that's rather sad. Listen, if you want to change your results, you've got to change your paradigm. That's the only way. Now, what I'm going to show you from here on in, baby, it's how to change the paradigm. This is really good stuff. I mean, this is the best. It took a guy like me, no formal education, absolutely no business experience, listening to this every day, changed my life. You know something? If you listen to this every day, it'll change your life, like night and day. Now look at it. What's a paradigm? A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. It has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. This is so important we understand this. And most people do not. Now I'm going to show you here all the areas of your life that a paradigm controls, has an influence over. Your paradigm controls your perception. I want you to think of this for a moment. It isn't the conditions or circumstance in your life that control your results. It's your perception of the circumstance in your life that control your results. It's how you see them. You can shift your perception. As you change your perception of your situation, your world changes. Your time, how you utilize your time, is dictated by your paradigm. See, your paradigm is your habitual behavior. Do you know where I am at 5:30 in the morning? I'm right in here. I'm in my studio. I'm studying. Here I got a book. This is in a book holder. I've been reading these 2 pages now for probably 3 months. I saw a book holder on Earl Nightingale's desk when I went to visit him. I said, what is that? He said, it's a book holder. It holds a book open. I said, why do you have it? Well, he said, I keep reading the same pages until I see myself doing what's on those pages. I thought, wow. I started to do it. It's the use of time. Do you know that we all get the same amount of time? We get all there is. Now look here for a moment. Let this represent. The sand in the bottom of the glass represents the past. The sand in the top of the glass represents the future. The sand right here in the center represents now. This is all we've got is now. This is it. When it's gone, it's gone. Let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, my grandmother pretty well raised me. Now, I thought Grandma was an angel from God. I mean, she was just the sweetest person. Grandma used to say, I'll soon be gone, dear, I'll soon be gone. Now, Grandma would be probably 60 when I first started to hear her say that. She'd say, I'll soon be gone, I'll soon be gone. It was like, I'm almost out of sand here. Grandma lived to be 94. 94. What a big change. 94. She's saying I'll soon be gone from the time she was 65. She still had a lot of sand. I chummed around with another guy at that time named Bob Yates. Bob was a very nice guy. He and I were chums. We chummed around together. Bob was coming in the Kingston Road Highway into Toronto in a little panel truck. He got his driver's license, held him ahead of me. He ran into the abutment of a concrete bridge. His life was over. If you had asked him a half hour before how much sand he had left, he didn't have a half an hour. He would have probably said he had a half a year. He didn't. He had a half an hour. This is the way life goes. You don't know how much time you got left, but you know what you got? You know you're here now. You know you've got the time now. And you can really live. So it's the use of time. Now let's take a look here. There's another one. Your paradigm controls your creativity. Your paradigm controls your creativity. How creative you are is dictated by your paradigm. Everybody gets the same amount of time. Everybody gets the same amount of creativity. It's how we use it. Our effectiveness is dictated by our paradigm. It's so important we understand that. Our productivity is controlled by our effectiveness. Now think, if we want to be more productive, we've got to become more effective. Have a better presentation. I was telling a young lady today, a sales presentation is nothing but a relaxed conversation where you're finding out as much as you can about them so that you can help them get what they want. You've got to find out what they want. Your productivity is dictated by your effectiveness and logic. Logic stops most people. They set goals, they'll say that's illogical. Is that right? It didn't stop the Wright brothers. It was illogical that anything heavier than air could go through the air. They introduced us to a new kingdom back around 1903. That's the way it works. Your logic dictates your ability to earn money. You want to start stretching your mind. Stretch your mind. Really understand it. Now look at it. It's almost like we're boxed in these areas. Every time you go to do something in these areas, you hit the wall and bounce back. That is because of the paradigm. You're programmed. You can't go any further than you've gone. The second we decide to change the paradigm, the walls come down. And when those walls come down, you can go do anything you want. Now get this. This is very important. I want you to imagine how your entire life will change as you begin improving any or all of these areas. Think about it. The change in your life is going to be huge. Huge. It's not only going to be huge, I'm here to tell you, the change will be permanent. I never went back. Never went back. You know, when Ray first gave me this book, and my life really started to change, I was always wondering, will it last? Will it last? Well, I'll tell you something. As long as I kept listening to the same thing, it was going to last. As long as you keep studying this, it's going to last. It's permanent. That's the beautiful truth. Now look here. I want you to imagine that the only thing you work on is your time. Just your time. You're going to do something more with your time. Now, nobody can manage time. All we can manage is activity. But I'm going to manage my activity, and I'm going to get the most out of my time. If that's all you did, like the people in Prudential, I had them at 9 o'clock, they were in front of a prospect. Every morning, in front of a prospect at 9, ask every prospect to buy. Get in somebody every morning, in front of somebody every morning at 9 a.m. Ask them to join you in business. Get them excited about what they can do. They are in charge of their results. They're in charge of what they're going to earn and where they go. You just use your time and take a look at how it reflects in your income. The change is enormous. Now look, I want you to let the yellow on here represent the organized educational model. Let the white represent the Proctor-Gallagher model. Let this represent you. That's the model of you, and those little antennae sitting up in there, they're your senses. You can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Now you go to school and you hear what the teacher's saying. You hear with your ears. You hear with your ears. Because you hear what the teacher's saying, you're going to gather information. Because you gather information, it'll store up here in your conscious mind. A couple times through the year, they come along, they give you a test. They want to know what you've learned. And if you get the answers right, they'll say, you know it. That isn't knowing at all. That's the observation of a fact. That's not the understanding of it. The school system is this wrong. Now look here for a moment. Gathering information doesn't mean you know it. I don't care how much you can repeat it. Now let's look here. If you listen to what we're saying here, really listen, let yourself get emotionally involved. You listen with your emotions. You hear with your ears. If you listen, odds are pretty good you will learn. Learning is when you consciously entertain an idea, you get emotionally involved in an idea, you step out and act on an idea, and you change the end result. That's learning. This is where it's at. Get in front of somebody. Ask them to join you in business. Make up your mind through the study of what I'm teaching you here. You are going to change your business, and you're going to change it forever. You're capable of earning millions of dollars. I earn millions of dollars. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Now let's look at this. This is, first of all, what I showed you here is how to learn. Now I'm going to show you what you have to do to change the paradigm. This is why repetition is necessary when you're changing your paradigm. This white line represents the sound of a recording. The red line represents you listening to the recording. So there's the white line, that's the sound. That's me talking. The red line represents you listening to what I'm saying. Remember I said you listen with your emotions? You're listening and bang, an idea hits, and where do you go? You go off on a thought trip. You're not listening to me anymore. You're up here on a thought vibration. You're thinking on a different frequency. You're not listening anymore. So there's stuff going on that you're not even hearing. Have you any idea how many times I listened to this, but I didn't hear what was on it? I was hearing it, but I wasn't listening to it. Now look at it. You come back down and you start listening. And along you go, and another idea hits. And bingo, off you go on a thought trip. And you do this over and over and over again. See the little red dots? When they hit, you stop listening. You get up on that yellow frequency, and you're thinking about the dot, the red idea. Then you come back down, you start listening, another dot hits. You can listen to the same recording 1,000 times, never hear everything that's on it. Look here for a minute. How did you get programmed in the first place? Your subconscious mind was wide open, and people were pouring stuff into your subconscious mind. That's how the paradigm started. Now I'm telling you, if you will take and you will listen to this same recording over and over and over again, now the second time you listen, you're in a different place. So you've got to listen to it over and over and over and over again. Listen to it till you do it. Earl Nightingale was one of the most successful men I ever knew. Now look at, I asked him, I said, Earl, why do you have this book open? Well, he said, I read those 2 pages. But I said, you'd have a hard time changing the pages. He said, I don't want to change the pages. He said, I read this until I know I'm doing it. I read it until I'm doing it. Imagine if there's a good idea in there and you read it until you know you're doing it. Well, that's what I'm telling you here. You keep doing this, reading it until you know you're doing it. It's the repetition. You're putting it in your subconscious mind. See, I've been doing that and I didn't know what I was doing. And it took me from scratching a living out of the $4,000 a year I was earning to earning millions. I can earn $1 million like that. It's not hard. I think earning money is one of the simplest things in the world to do. You know what the problem is? School never taught us how to do it. Oh, look at this again. What do you think the odds are of this happening? Where every time you listen to it, you hear the same idea. You're not doing that. Your mind's off on a trip. Repetition. It's the action of repeating something that has already been said or written. Repetition is the secret to success. Now look here. Here we are here. There's the mind. There's the body. And we'll take and we'll split it. There's the conscious mind and there's the subconscious mind. Now, you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Okay? They are hooked up like antennae. Everybody can hear, see, smell, taste, touch. That's how you pick up information from your outside world. Now get this. I want you to watch this carefully. We're going to change this circle. And as you change it, the conscious mind is the intellectual mind. That's right. And the subconscious is the emotional mind. Now, the intellectual mind, you have intellectual factors. Here they are. You have perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. All of these higher faculties, this is what separates you from the animal kingdom. But you know something? We weren't taught anything about them. In fact, do you even remember what they were? I just showed them to you. Here, I'll show them to you again. Look at them. Do you remember what they are? See, most people don't even know what our higher faculties are, and they are the ones that change our life. They literally change our life. Look at them. Now get this. All of those intellectual factors are here in our conscious mind. We have the ability to do wonderful things with our life through using these. That's what separates us from the animal kingdom. Do you know you have a perfect memory? We had a man over from Saudi Arabia. He was a psychiatrist, and he was teaching people there to memorize the Quran. Jerry Lucas, great basketball player, used to be in San Francisco teaching people to memorize the Bible. Imagine memorizing the Bible. You have a perfect memory. Most people's memory is just weak. You have a perfect intuition. If I was around you, I could read your energy like a book. You see what's going on the inside shows on the outside. Well, you have vibration and intuition to pick that up. We've got all these higher faculties, and they're the ones you use to change the paradigm. If you don't even know how to use them, and you don't know how to change the paradigm is going to control your life. Through properly using them, we can tell the paradigm, get out of town. And then we can start and build a new paradigm. Now, what did we say the paradigm was? It's a multitude of ideas that are in our subconscious mind that control our behavior. Well, if we built our own paradigm, we could have very successful habit patterns. I have very successful habit patterns. Very successful. I don't have to work at it. It's a habit. It's just the way I work. And you can do exactly the same thing. Now let's look here again. Here's another way of looking at it. There's a power flowing into your, this is you now. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. And you can think with this. You can actually think. Thought waves are cosmic waves, penetrate all time and space. When we think, we send those thoughts off into the universe, but we also impress them upon our subjective mind. So we're sending it off into the universe, and we're causing ourselves to feel the way we feel. Now the universe automatically will start sending those back. But you see, the feelings we send off into the universe, and those feelings then are expressed through the body, and the body moves into action. Now take a look here for a moment. It's 1, 2, 3 results. And that's what attitude is. Attitude is your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. It's a beautiful concept. Yet your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You're in control of your thinking. It's the thoughts that control the feelings. When you say, she really upset me, she didn't upset you. She doesn't have the power to upset you. He really made me angry. He can't make you angry. Not without your permission. We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Look here. There's the paradigm. Here's the imagination. With our imagination, we create a mindset. Okay? We can impress that mindset upon the subjective mind. Through visualizing this over and over for 30 days, it starts to affect the vibration we're in, starts to affect our behavior, and produces new results. This is also simple, and yet it's so misunderstood. Now let's take a look at one of the most powerful concepts you'll ever find. Decision must be committed decisions. Decisions are usually preferences. They're not decisions at all. Not only decision, but we have to add discipline to it. So it's not just decision, it's decision with discipline. Discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and follow it. That's a beautiful idea. Now I want you to think about that. I'm going to give me a command, then I'm going to follow it. I'm going to be in front of somebody every morning, 9 a.m. Then I'm going to do it. I make a commitment, I do it. I make a decision, I do it. Everybody can do this. You've got to get yourself in the position to do it. There's your conscious mind, your subconscious, and your controls your vibration. Now look, there's the heart of hearts. As a person thinketh in their heart, so are they. You've got to get what you want. Now you see, what we're doing, we go to our heart for the good that we desire. Now I'm going to give you something here. I really want you to pay attention. You go to your heart for what you want. You sit and be quiet. What do you really want? Let it come into your consciousness. What you really want. Let it flow into your conscious mind. Sit and be quiet. What do you really want? It's what Earl said to me. Most people don't know what they want. When he said it, I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to do what he was doing. I wanted to do it with him. So you see, put it up. Now, the wants come into our consciousness. So there we have our imagination, and we expand on that. Then we turn the want back over to spirit. That's where we got it in the first place, and we impress it back upon the heart. And by impressing more energy on it, the want turns into a desire. The desire sets up the vibration. The vibration calls the action, which sets up a reaction, and that changes the conditions, the circumstance, and environment, or we can say the result you're getting. Now I'm going to run through that one more time. It's very important, and it could be easily misunderstood. Here we are here. You have your heart within. We're talking about the spiritual core of your being. And the spiritual side of your being is always for expansion and fuller expression. There's something in you that wants you to do better. You'll never be satisfied. If you run, you want to run faster. If you jump, you want to jump higher. If you're selling, you want to sell more. If you let Spirit control your life, Spirit's saying, do this, Bob. The wants are in the subjective mind. It's in the heart. And the want is what feeds your imagination. It's your heart that feeds your imagination. And when the want comes into the imagination grabs it and expands upon it. You go to spirit to get the want. Then you turn the want back over to spirit. And through the reciprocal law of spirit, it'll give it back to you in physical form. It's so beautiful how it all happens. And it's so perfect how it all happens. We're talking about the law. We're talking about the laws of the universe. This is exact. I don't care where you're living. I don't care if you're in Indiana or in Uruguay. It makes no difference where you are. This works there because Spirit's omnipresent. Now look at it. Pick a target that you want to reach over the next 30 days. And say, that's what I'm going to do. This is exactly what I'm going to do. Then make a commitment to somebody that you're going to do it. Put it in writing and give it to them. And say, I'm going to do this. You'll be so glad you did. Alfred Adler one time said, great psychologist, I am grateful to the idea that has used me. I am grateful to the idea. See, when you make a commitment that you're going to do this, when you make a commitment, that's an idea. Then you can get what Adler said. I'm grateful to the idea that has used me. See, the idea uses you. First we originate the idea, then the idea uses you. Now stay with me here. Look here for a moment. This is such good stuff. Such good stuff. The wants come to the consciousness. They come from the heart into the consciousness. Desire is in the subconscious. If you're going to turn your want into a desire, you've got to get emotionally involved in it. That's how your results change. It's so important. Albert Einstein was a brilliant guy. He said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that has honored the servant and has forgotten the gift. Now, what's he talking about? The intuitive mind is a sacred gift. Let's take a look. Use these mental faculties to create the world you want. Yet your family to live in. Think. Use these mental faculties to create the world you want you and your family to live in. Never settle. Never settle. What was Einstein talking about? Here's what he was talking about. He was talking about these higher faculties. I talked about perception. Yeah, it's a magnificent mental faculty. Change your perception of whatever it is, and you change your world. Change your perception of anything, and you've changed your world. John Kennedy, when he was president of the United States, asked Dr. Wernher von Braun what it would take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth. He said, the will to do it. He answered him in 10 seconds. The will to do it. This was an enormous goal. The will is what gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all those outside distractions. Memory. Everybody's got a perfect memory. There is no such thing as a bad memory. There's a great book called The Memory Book by Jerry Lucas and Harry Lorraine. The Memory Book. Then we have intuition. Intuition is the ability to pick up vibration and read them. You know, when you're with somebody and their mood just shifts like that, you think, what's the matter? They say, oh, nothing. They just heard something that really bothered them. You felt the change in their vibration. If I'm in a seminar, you'll see me, I'll take a person, I'll read their energy like a book. Reasoning what gives us the ability to think. Do you know, Viktor Frankl was a marvelous psychiatrist from Vienna. He spent the war years in a concentration camp, and he said it was while he was in the camp, no one could cause him to think something he didn't want to think. No one. Everybody has the ability to reason, to think. And last but not least, we've been gifted with an imagination. Most marvelous, miraculous tool we'll ever have. And we can take this imagination, we can expand on wants. Build the life you want. It's such a beautiful concept. We are only limited. We're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Neville said many great things, but I don't think he could top that. We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Write that on something and read it 1,000 times. Look at it. When paradigms stay in control, nothing changes. This is so important we get this straight. When paradigms stay in control, nothing changes. Absolutely nothing. Now look here I'm going to teach you something here that's mind-boggling. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. Okay? Every frequency is connected to the one above and the one below. So each one of these lines is a frequency. Each one represents a level of vibration. Each frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. If you really understand this in great depth, you'll understand that everything in this universe is connected. Everything is connected. See, everything in this room is energy, including me. And the only thing that separates it is density or amplitude of vibration. It's just on different frequency. So stay with me. I don't want to lose you. Okay? Listen. Let that represent my phone. Okay? That represents here. That represents my phone. This represents your phone. Now let's get this straight. If I have your number, you have my number, we can touch, go, and whoom, we're connected. Doesn't matter where we are. We can be anywhere in the world and we're connected. Now you see, we seem to understand this when it comes to our phones. When it comes to our life, we get lost. We've got to get it in the right slot. Now I'm going to teach you something here, and I hope to God you never forget it. Let this represent you. You're a mass of energy. Like everything, you function on frequencies you do. That's right. I'm suggesting you control the flow of thought energy. Let it flow freely to and through you. Quit getting uptight. Let it flow freely to and through you, improving everything with which it connects. A frequency is a level of vibration. There's an infinite number of frequencies. An infinite number of frequencies. We've mentioned on numerous occasions, everyone's connected to the one above and the one below. Okay? Now, let this X represent where you are. That X represents where you are in life. Take an honest look at where you are in your life, and you can see how you got there. Let each one of these lines represent a level of vibration, a time in your life. Go to the middle. Do you remember when you made that move, or when you quit that job, or when you started that job, when you finished your formal education? Okay? Let those lines represent times of your life. And what you're doing, you're sitting right here, right now, where the X is. And you can look back, but baby, you can't look ahead. And when you do, you have no idea how to get there. You say, that's where I want to go, but I have no idea how I'm going to get there. You know where you are, and you can see how you got there. But you start dreaming. And you say, that's where I really want to go. That's what I want to do. You'll think, isn't that interesting? That's where I want to go. Now look at. To move to a higher frequency of thought, you must first consent. In other words, you're the only one that can do it. Then adapt to the ideas and feelings this new frequency represents. I cannot take you there. No one can do this for you. You're the only one that can do it. At the suggestion of a move, your paradigm is going to put up a huge battle. It will continually fight you. You've got to take conscious control over that paradigm, remove and replace it. You see, when you really want to change, everything goes haywire inside of you. You've got to change the paradigm. You've got to change it. Now here you are here, and you'll say, that's where I want to go. But you don't know how to get there, so you let it fade. Don't let it fade. Keep that idea present. When you can go there, don't let the idea leave your mind. Now let's look at what Einstein said. Everything's energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want. And you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This isn't philosophy. This is physics. You see, when you go there, you are there. I don't know where it is in the universe, but when you go there, you're there. That's how we've got to where we are. Look at, how do you think we got these phones? Where do you think they came from? Where do you think everything how are we communicating right now? How did this all happen? Well, Einstein told us. He said, everything's energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want. And you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This isn't philosophy. This is physics. Now get, the moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. You fuse with that state. This union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstance. So think now. Think of what we're doing. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. You fall in love with it, get emotionally involved with it. This union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstances. You know that position you want to go for? That level in the company, right up at the top. Go ahead, earn millions of dollars. You can. The way is here. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. This union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstance. This new state of conscious awareness becomes your home, from which you view the world. Now get this. This is your workshop. It is your workshop. And if you're observant, you're going to see your outer world shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Things will just start to happen. And that's what you want. Now get this. When you move on to a higher frequency, you're going to be communicating with a world totally foreign to and beyond the reach of your five senses. You're way beyond the reach of your five senses. You're going to have to start to use your higher faculties. Progress of this nature is an expression of higher levels of awareness. December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers got it off the ground. July the 20th, 1969, they went from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, to the moon. It was only 87 months. Not long when you think about it. Now look at it. There's where you want to go. The lower X represents where you are. That represents where you want to go. Steve Jobs put it very well. He said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. You got to have faith, baby. You got to say, I'm going there. Then you have to set out, make a committed decision. Blow this up and look at it. Really look at it. When you say you're going to move, everything starts to happen. Everything falls into place. It's just amazing how this works. Amazing. When you get there, you think, damn, I could have gone there. I could have gone there. Look at the progress you've made. Understand this. When your imagination takes you there, there is a place. Don't think it's some figment of your imagination. Your imagination is a mental tool that enables you to travel in this universe. Go to where the good that you desire exists. Buy into it. Now, I'm going to share the most valuable idea that I have learned from studying this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Every day for 60 years. Now look here. Just one idea from this chapter has been responsible for me earning millions of dollars. I really want you to pay attention. In the first page on decision, in the chapter on decision in this book, he said, analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and of changing those decisions slowly if and when they were changed. People who fail to accumulate money, without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing those decisions quickly and often. Do you know that most people never learn how to make a decision? They don't. Why do you think you have so many people running around saying, what do you think I should do? They're looking for somebody to make the decisions for them. Do you know why? That's what their mother and dad did up until the time they left home. They were letting their parents make decisions for them. Their parents should never have done this. I've never made decisions for my kids. Never have. Why? I want them to learn how to make it. Now look, pay attention here. This is very important. These two men changed my life indirectly. Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. The man who changed Napoleon Hill's life is Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the wealthiest man in the world in 1908. He moved to the United States, the east coast of the United States, from Scotland when he was just a boy with his parents. They had nothing, absolutely nothing. So they started from nothing over on Pittsburgh. And they started. He became the wealthiest man in the world. In 1908, Napoleon Hill was working for a little magazine. And the magazine was writing an article on wealthy people. And Napoleon Hill lucked out. He got to interview Andrew Carnegie. He was a young reporter. Carnegie is the wealthiest man in the world. Now, what Hill didn't know, Carnegie had been interviewing people himself. He had interviewed over 250 of them. He was looking for someone that could write the laws of achievement. No one had ever written them. And he said, this is the time, like the guys that he would hang out with, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, you know, they're all his time. And he said, we're all going to the grave with all this knowledge locked up in our bones. He said, there's something wrong with that. Somebody should write the laws of achievement. He was looking for somebody to do it. Hill interviewed Carnegie for 3 hours. At the end of the 3 hours, Carnegie said, Napoleon, this interview is not ending, it's just beginning. I want you to come home with me. Hill said he was glad he took him home because he didn't have enough money to rent a hotel room. And when he got home, he said, listen, I want you to listen carefully to me. And he started to explain his whole philosophy. This went on for 3 days. At the end of the 3 days, Carnegie said, now, Napoleon, I've given you a lot of information. I'm going to ask you a question. And I just want a yes or a no answer. This is after 3 days. He said, would you dedicate the rest of your life to an idea for which you would probably receive no material compensation for at least 20 years? Now, what he didn't tell Hill is that he had a stopwatch under the desk, and he had only given him 60 seconds to answer the question. In 29 seconds, Hill said, yes, I will. He was just 31 seconds away from the greatest opportunity anyone ever had. So he told him what he wanted him to do. Now he said, I'm not going to subsidize you. You're going to have to pay your own way. That's the only way you're going to get this properly. But he said, I'm going to give you letters of introduction, some of the most powerful people in the world. And you're going to be able to sit down and interview them. You're going to gather information from them. And you're going to find there's a golden thread running through their lives. We want to know what it is. That's called the laws of achievement. And we want to record it. We want to record it all. That was a big idea. He answered him in 29 seconds. I've asked myself 1,000 times, how often would I do that? Now let me go further. He said, Napoleon, you're going to have a lot of trouble before you finish. I want to give you an affirmation. I want you to write it out, underline every word. And when you say this, I want you to say it in the mirror, and you're talking to yourself. You're saying, Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post, and I'm going to pass you at the grandstand. Well, at that point, Hill said he threw his pen to the floor. He says, you know darn well that's not going to happen. He said, I know it's not, Napoleon, unless and until you burn that idea into your mind. What did I do with this recording? What was Napoleon or Earl Nightingale doing with this book holder? These people understood something the average person doesn't understand. He said to Hill, will you make me a commitment that you will do this every morning and every night for 30 days? And Hill said, yes, he would. Now, they said the first time he did this, he went to the bathroom, he locked the door, he didn't want his brother to hear him, and he looked in the mirror and he whispered it. Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. Now, he said the first time he did it, he felt like a darn fool. And he said the first couple of days he thought it was silly. But he made a commitment, so he did. By the 15th day, he thought this might work. At the end of the 30 days, he knew it was going to work. Andrew Carnegie, I have found, made something like 50 millionaires. Napoleon Hill has made millions of millionaires. And I thank God and Napoleon Hill that I was one of them. Now look. There's John Kennedy and Dr. Wernher von Braun. Von Braun was considered probably one of the most brilliant people in the world. He was the father of the space program. President Kennedy asked him a question. He said, what would it take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth? In 10 seconds, he said, the will to do it. 10 seconds. 29 seconds. These guys all knew something. If you take more than 10 seconds to answer a question, it's your paradigm that's answering the question. It's not you at all. Get your paradigm out of the way. Step in there. Bet on yourself. Control the flow of thought energy. Let it flow freely to and through you, improving everything with which it connects. Now look at it. Pay very close attention to this. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. Every level of vibration is referred to as a frequency, and we think on frequencies. Let these puffy little clouds represent your thoughts. Your thoughts produce your results. Now, come back here with me for a moment. You remember at one point I said we're spiritual beings and spirit's never satisfied. It's always for expansion and fuller expression. You're not satisfied with your results. I don't care what results you're getting, you're saying, I want better results. If you're running, you want to run faster. If you're selling, you want to sell more. I don't care what position you're in, you want to go to a higher one. Now look at it. That's where you are, and you'll say, that is where I want to go. And then, this, in ignorance, a person will say, I'm going to do that as soon as I recruit a couple of good people. I'm going to do that as soon as I get the money. I'm going to do that as soon as this changes. That isn't going to change. Pretty soon the decision dies. Then the goal, the thing you're going to do, it dies. Why? I'll tell you why. You're thinking down here on this frequency. And the goal that you are going after is way up here on that frequency. Your mind and thoughts must operate on the same frequency as your goal. You see, when you make a committed decision, there's no looking back. Now watch this carefully. When you make a committed decision, you've got to think and act like the person you want to become. Where'd the bottom line go? See? That bottom line, let's let that represent an AM frequency on your radio. The top one represents an FM frequency. You can't be tuned into an AM frequency and get FM music. It won't happen. When you make a committed decision, you've got to quit thinking down there. Quit mixing with the people down there. Get with the winners. Think and act like the person you want to become. Begin to think like that person. Think like that person that's way up there in that higher frequency. You know that higher position you're going after? Act like you've already got it. Act like you've already got it. Want is the only prerequisite for making a decision. Want is the only prerequisite. That's the only prerequisite. Do you know all the furniture in your home? You don't need it. You got it because you wanted it. You know the car? You don't need it. You got it because you wanted it. When you want that higher position, you're going to quit fooling around on the lower level. You're going to start to think and act like the person you want to become. Get in front of a new prospect early in the morning. Recruit a good team of people. Keep building the people. Quit listening to the losers. You're the winner. Want is the only prerequisite. That's why successful people make decisions so quickly. And you can do it. That's also why Werner von Braun said all you have to do is have the will to do it. Such a big idea. Now look, start to think. You've just developed an awareness going through this. And because of the awareness, now you're in a position to make good decisions. Don't you leave this conference without going after that high position. And I want you to commit to somebody that you're going to do that. Quit fooling around. This is so important. We've said this 2 or 3 times. You can create your own economy. This company will pay you millions of dollars. All you have to do is earn it. Do you know that we can show you how to turn your annual income into a monthly income? That's what Yoma can do. It can show you how to turn your annual income into a monthly income. This can be accomplished by having multiple sources of income. You see, wealthy people historically have always had multiple sources of income. Our world is changing. It's changing at a very rapid clip. It's not getting bigger. Our world is getting smaller. You can have business all over the world through Tioma. Everywhere you go, you can have business. You talk to people on the internet, bring them into your business. Have them join you. Now stay with me here. Really watch this. You can keep developing all over the world. This is probably the most phenomenal business there is. Now, when I tell you, I've been around network marketing, multi-level marketing, since it started. That was a long time ago. I remember a person trying to explain Amway to me on the street in conversation. I thought he was right out of his mind. He was not in a position to even make a presentation. Create the right environment where you can sit down and show them the truth about this. There is no end to what you're capable of doing. I have studied wealth and wealthy people all my adult life. I'm 87 years old. I'm going to tell you something. You can go right back, as I've already said, to the ancient Babylonians, very wealthy sect of people. They all had multiple sources of income. Multiple sources. You keep setting these sources up. Recruit strong people. Help them understand what they can build. Now look, are all these businesses going to be the same size? No. Some will be big and some will be small. But I'm going to tell you something. The money will all flow into one place. It all flows in to your bank. Doesn't matter where it comes from in the world. It all flows in to your bank. And it just keeps adding up. It just keeps adding up. And I want you to remember this. When you think of your business, there is one distinguishing characteristic about this business that changes everything. And there it is, right there. It's the MSIs. Multiple sources of income. My gosh, what a great idea. Help you reach most any goal. Now look here. Most people are down here going for goals that they already know how to do. That's a waste of time. Then they go here, maybe goals they think they can do. I think it's time, here in this meeting, that you really stretch. Get your mind out there. Get it going big. Now look at this carefully. Take close attention. I want you to go for a C-type goal. That's what you really want to do. You don't know how, but you know you will. It's something in you that says, this I will do. I have made a committed decision, and I'm going to study and keep studying this information. And I know it's going to happen. Now look here for a moment. Here is a process. You go from being in bondage to ideas to the terror barrier to freedom. Now watch how it works. Here you are here. You're conditioned with X-type energy. X is not good energy. But because that's the conditioning, when this power flows into your consciousness, you think X-type thoughts. You think thoughts that are in harmony with your old paradigm. That's just the way it goes. Now, if you want to move ahead, you can. But you've got to get up here. This is where you're thinking a why idea. A why idea is that position way up a lot higher than you are. Right to the top of the ladder. Go to the top position in the company. That's where all the money is. Start thinking about it. And you can think about it. Think about it in your consciousness. Start giving it all kinds of thoughts. Now watch here. You're going to hit a terror barrier with this. When you get emotionally involved in that idea, and you try and go ahead, all hell breaks loose. You hit that terror barrier, worry, fear, and anxiety strike, and you go right back to where you are. You've got to say, there's absolutely no way this terror barrier is going to stop me. Absolutely not. I'm going through that thing. Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. Now look carefully. You're going to go right through that terror. You do not let the terror barrier stop you. Now when you keep impressing the why upon your mind, you're going to set up, it's going to cause fear. Keep on going. And eventually one day that X will be gone. See, the fear is caused because the X is still there. You didn't get rid of the paradigm by going through, but you started to. And you keep impressing your why idea. And pretty soon, you're in freedom. Most people are extras in their own movie. You're not going to do that. What do you really want? You're going to go where you want to go. you're going to make a decision. It's going to be a committed decision, and you're going to exercise discipline. You're going to make this discipline really count. Now, I'm going to bring this in for a landing with an idea that's very powerful. You may be getting a little tired. Stay with me. This is so important we get this. Look at it. You have a choice. On the left side is the negative, on the right side is the positive. The positive and the negative are with us all the time. On the one side is ignorance, on the other side is knowledge. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. And if you're not aware of what's going on, you're going to look at your results and think of what you have to do, and you're going to start to worry or doubt. Now, the person that worries and doubts, they take that marvelous power and they start to doubt their own ability. They start to worry. That person's setting up problems for themselves. Because when you get emotionally involved with that, that sets up fear. That power commandment was clear, unadulterated power. You started to doubt and worry. You got emotionally involved, and that set up what we call anxiety. The anxiety is not expressed, it's suppressed. And that suppression of the anxiety causes depression. When people are struggling, they quite often get depressed. The depression turns to disease. The disease turns to disintegration. And the person starts losing. Now, you had a free will. What do we want to do? Well, let's do it this way. The opposite of doubt and worry is understanding. Let's understand there's two ways of looking at everything. There's two ways of looking at everything in life. You can look at the negative or the positive. There's something good in everything. Understanding comes because of study. I want you to start to study this. I want you to start to study this seriously. And when you do that, you're going to develop faith. The faith expresses itself in the physical as well-being. The well-being is expressed. It's not suppressed. That turns to acceleration, and that's because you're at ease. And that turns into creation. So you see, you can go two ways. You can go that way, or you can go that way. Think of it. That way or that way. What do you want? You have a choice. Such a beautiful choice. What do you really want? It's a matter of making decisions. And then becoming disciplined. You see, when you make a committed decision, like I did way back in 1961, and then I had somebody that I was committed to. I said, you can count on me, I'll do this. My life started to change. I've never gone back. Do you know, I mentioned to you right at the beginning, my mindset has given me a life that most people just dream of. It's been a wonderful life. And it keeps getting better. Yours can too. I want you to make a decision right now, sitting where you're sitting, that you're going to do something, that you've never done before. Go for that position. Get way up there. Go on up with the winners. Lead the way. Show others how to do it. Teach this information to them. I want to thank the company for inviting me here. I want to thank you for listening. We've been together for quite a while. But this information, it's the best in the world. Not because my name's on it. It's because of where I got it. I got it from some mostly incredible people. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the company. And I look forward to seeing you again. You're in America now. Really give it everything you got, baby. Thank you. It's Bob Proctor, and thank you.
¡Wow! ¡Qué gran presentación tuvimos hoy día con Bob Proctor! Si esto te pareció magnífico, el día de mañana a la 1:30 de hora de Utah, Compartiremos dos grandes expositores, el Dr. Camilo Cruz y Ray Higdon. Los esperamos mañana y que disfruten.